This episode is brought to you by Codespaces. Check out codespaces.com for quality services on managing your coding projects. Also by Peepcode. Find excellent Ruby on Rails screencasts and mini-books at peepcode.com. Performance optimization is really important in order to get your Rails application running quickly and smoothly. But before we get into optimizing our code, we really need to find our performance bottlenecks so we know exactly what to optimize. So that's going to be the topic over the next several episodes. So the way I like to start this is to get an overall idea of what controller actions need to be optimized so I know what to focus on. And to do that, I can use the production log. It's a great tool to find out how long various controller actions took to process. So here's an example of our production log, and notice this last line of each request. It tells us how long that request took to process. And this number isn't really exact. There is some processing that happens outside of this calculation, but it will give us a rough idea of what controller actions to focus on. Now this production log lists each action individually, each request individually, but it would be nice if we could group them into controller actions so we can prioritize which ones we need to focus on optimizing. To do that, there's several tools out there, so let's take a look at them. One is called the Rails Analyzer, and this is a great suite of tools that offers several various tools for optimizing and determining which parts of your Rails application needs optimizing. And one of those is the Production Log Analyzer, and that will basically prioritize your controller actions and tell you which ones you need to focus on. But one problem with this is that it requires a custom logger to use, which may be a problem in your Rails application. So there's another alternative tool out there, which I somewhat prefer, and it's much simpler as well, and that is called Rock. It's just a simple Ruby script, and you just pass your production log into it, and it just outputs a simple table of various data about your production log. And I find it very useful for determining which controller actions we need to focus on. So let me show you an example of that real quick. So here's our RailsCast site production log, or just a portion of it actually. And here's some output by Rock when I passed it the production log. And this lists our different request URLs. And notice this section right here, top 20 by sum of time. I find this section the most helpful in the output because this lists all the different requests which took the most time to process overall. So if we focus on optimizing these ones, we'll get the most bang for our buck in a sense and optimize the overall performance of our application. So if we notice that the index page is at the top here, which is pretty common, and it's the total overall, the total sum of time is processed on this request here, and also the episodes index, which is really the same controller action, and the various URL paths below. Now there's another output which groups the results by controller action instead of by the path, which I think is somewhat more helpful. So here's the same Rock tool, but it grouped by the controller action. You can see the output is a little bit different here. Now as the episode's controller show action is now at the top of this sum of time result. And that's because you see back here, each show action, the episode 75, 67, so on, is listed individually. But this groups all these show actions together, which we find out that that's right up at the top, and that if we work on optimizing this specific controller action, will really improve the overall performance of our application. So the way we get this kind of output is we actually need to append something onto our log, the processor ID of each log message. And the way we do that is actually mentioned inside of the help. If we just run this command, then we can see the help file. And if you notice that right down here, it tells you basically how to append the processor ID to each log message. And then if you do that, you'll get the output just like this, where it tells you the controller and action name, groups the requests by that. And I find that to be the most helpful in determining which controller actions we need to focus on optimizing. And in the future episodes, I'm going to show you exactly how to benchmark these controller actions and determine what we should optimize and the best way to do that. So I'll see you then. Please give a warm welcome to CodeSpaces. This is now one of our sponsors. They offer Subversion hosting, bug tracking, and many more project management tools. You can check them out at codespaces.com and find a free 45-day trial there.